So did you actually end up spilling juice on your laptop?
I actually did, and it's kind of embarrassing, man. Like if you see here, let's not even talk about it, man. 18.6 billion dollars have just been sacrificed for PulseX, and
That's a
Brendan is
complete
losing
lie.
his
That's a
mind,
complete lie.
and
You're spreading fake
I don't
news.
even know where to go from here. Do we shut down the channel? Do we contact Richard Hart? Do we sign a petition? What do we do here, Brendan? Walk us through this whole
Listen,
thing, man.
well, first of all, I need to correct your lies because it's in fact 18.5
5.
billion.
Okay. Okay. My bad. My
$5
bad.
billion was just sacrificed to the PulseX sacrifice phase. That's pretty huge, man, because before that, there was roughly $1 billion sacrifice. So it needless to say that, Richard Hart, the origin address, the Richard Hart development team will now be in control of the vast majority of the PulseX supply.
Right.
So let me ask you, man, how do you think this will change PulseX? Do you think this does change the situation with PulseX?
I think it depends on the trust we have in the PulseX or Hex or the Richard Hart entity with the developers and all that. We know certain things within the ecosystem depend on how much PulseX you own, right? Like if, for example, like liquidity governance. At one point we're talking about how much rewards we're gonna have for certain liquidity pools. That depends on how much the actual community would want to vote on and allocate for. Now, whoever has the most definitely would have a say in whatever rewards. But again, man, I think it's always a question that comes up whenever we see a huge amount like that get sacrificed. We saw that with Pulse Chain, now we're with PulseX. Now, I
Right.
guess my question to you is, and I think a lot of people actually ask that specifically, hexagons and non-hexagons. Is that a good or a bad thing in your opinion? Is that something that's limiting, or does it have some
Look,
sort of a better purpose?
I think depending on your philosophical disposition, that the way you would answer that question will change. What I can say is that I view the origin address coming in and taking up the majority of the supply with both Pulse Chain and Pulse X the same way I view Hex, where the
Right.
origin address is actually an active entity who has behaved to protect the benefit of the holders in the past. And so that's how I view what's going on here with PulseX. Where folks, PulseX is essentially an extremely fancy governance coin where there will be a decentralized exchange, like you mentioned, that will control what liquidity pairs get rewarded what on PulseX. And now that Richard Hart, the origin address development team, has the vast majority of the supply, well, they will essentially have monopoly control over what liquidity pairs get supported, what don't, who gets what rewards. And so if you're okay with that, I guess it's a good thing. If you don't like a heavy hand when it comes to centralization and team having too much control, then maybe it's less of a good thing. Look, in the past, the origin address has helped prop up the price of Hex, and again, from everything we've heard from both developers of Hex and Richard himself, the origin address is an active entity that's meant to protect the system. So I think that the team probably has the PulseX's best interest in mind. So I don't view it as a negative necessarily.
Yeah. Yeah. No, 100%. I think that's always something, I forgot what I was talking about last week about this, but, when we talk about decentralization, everything, how, we don't want some sort of a middleman or entity in the middle, there was always I don't know, the new thing I've been noticing is that, you don't have to directly be influencing the actual blockchain. There's indirect ways for you to have some sort of influence on how things move, how the price moves, how the blockchain behaves, governance on the actual blockchain. And I think one of those ones has been literally how much tokens do we have? How much, like, what's the
Yeah.
percentage of the tokens we own? That actually gives you more leverage depending on how for example, like the governance, liquidity allocations based on governance, that's definitely something. Whoever owns the most tokens is going to have the biggest say in what, where rewards go. So we know that.
Yeah.
But again, like we're saying, we saw that previously. The Hex entity is always trying to protect the price, whatever that means for people. But are we going to have, obviously it's going to be something that's adopted into PulseX, and that's what we're seeing right now. But maybe one of the questions that we'd also have for the people in general, if you guys are watching, also put some questions for us in the comment section below, and we'll try to answer. But what do you think in terms of the supply shock, in terms of the fact that now we have out of nowhere almost $18 billion worth of PulseX added to the system? What does that do to the price? How does that affect price appreciation? And I guess.
Market cap, yeah. No, this is a very important question because look, folks, A lot of people are, I think, will now be worried about Pulse Chain and PulseX because there's all this much more supply. But in my opinion, again, from everything we've heard from Richard, Richard developers, they have no interest in hurting the price and every interest in protecting the price. And from everything we've seen, everything we've heard, the track record of the hex origin address, they have never sold the supply on the open market. In my opinion, this is just very likely could be just a marketing stunt to help artificially increase the market cap and put PulseX, Pulse Chain on the front page of coin ranking sites. That could very well be the reason why there's all this amount of sacrifice, plus the veto power when it comes to governance. Look, in my opinion, this is not a big deal for the same reason that this wasn't a big deal with Hex and the Hex origin address. The Hex origin address is never sold. The only time it really ever did anything interesting was stake a bunch of Hex on big payday when people were taking a bunch of Hex and dumping it on the open market. So when the Hex origin address did this, it helped protect the price because it lowered the amount of rewards that Hex dumpers were getting. So we've only ever seen the Hex origin address behave in a beneficial way. Again, if the origin address is indeed Richard Hart or the development team, why would they ever act in a way that would hurt the price? No, it's very likely, especially given the track record of the Hex origin address, that this is all in an effort to veto things that they would view as detrimental towards the network.
Right. No, I agree, man. But 18.6 billion, the guy got that kind of money? Is that what we're talking about here, man?
Dude, Richard Hart may end up being a trillionaire, decade or so down the road, man.
That's crazy, man. 18.5 billion, just like that in terms of Hex. And that came straight from the Pulse Chain sacrifice address, straight to the PulseX.
Yeah. And so to be clear as well, I do not believe that supply will ever hit the market. I don't know that for sure. This could be used as PulseX staking rewards later on down the road. It's complete speculation. Although what I can say is that I've watched pretty much every single Richard Hart live stream over the past many months. What I can say is that there's been absolutely no indication that this supply would ever touch the market. And in fact, many indications the supply would never touch the market. Although, of course, that is speculation and it could theoretically be used for something later down the road.
No, 100%. I think one last thing, I guess, to add besides that is obviously you talked about the fact that this will also help in terms of higher rankings, in terms of market cap, websites and all that. So it could be like some sort of a marketing scheme as well, just getting these numbers up and getting more and more exposure to the people there. Maybe one thing, I don't know, that does it make sense to sacrifice now after seeing this? Do you think people would have to? Well, is this something that we got to keep in mind? Or is there some sort of strategy going about this? I know the rates just flattened out right now at like I forgot what the number is. Maybe we'll show it right now. But, does it make sense to sacrifice?
Well, look, man, here's the thing. The rate has increased dramatically. Where on day one, you were getting $1 per 10,000 sacrifice points. Now it's $8.15 per 10,000 sacrifice points. So the rate has dramatically increased. So you got to understand what you're getting yourself into. If you do choose to sacrifice now, you are sacrificing at a much worse rate. Now, what I can say is as of today, you are getting a flat 1.75x bonus for sacrificing. So there is that little bit of incentive to still sacrifice if one wants to. Now, in my opinion, feel free to throw in your 2 cents, but in my opinion, the biggest risk factor when it comes to PulseX is not having any exposure. Be assured, the rate has dramatically gotten much worse. But if we zoom forward 5-10 years in the future, if PulseX is indeed going to go on to do the couple 100x, couple 1000x, does this rate change at the end of the day really change the situation? In my opinion, no. In my opinion, the greatest risk factor is not having exposure. So what I would personally do, not financial advice, is put in half of what I want to put in today. Is put in what I want to put in today at the sacrifice, and then half.
He's stuttering, man. He's stuttering, man.
You know what it is? I'm used to the I'm used to editing, man. The editing,
No, I get you.
something
I
fucked
get you.
up.
So I would say so you're right. I think going half, half
Yeah,
before
I
right
would do
now, then
half half.
half after
Yeah.
the dip, because we do understand, guys, with all the excitement and all that, there's a lot of people that will be dumping. That's a fact. That's what happens with every single round phase. There's some sort of a dip that comes after, regardless of whatever the market is telling us. So maybe that's something we got to keep in mind, right? So maybe half now, half later. We're not financial advisors. I'm not a financial advisor. Brendan is not. You see him stuttering while he's giving you advice like that. We
Not
cannot let
financial
that happen.
advice.
100%. But yeah, man, I think that's actually a better approach. Yeah, like half now, half later. Or if your risk tolerance is very low, then probably just wait till the project is out and then do your thing there.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's ultimately speculation at the end of the day. We don't know how far above the price will trade for from the sacrifice phase. We don't know if there'll be a price premium. We honestly don't know what the price will be. It's all speculation. So, in my opinion, biggest risk factor is not having any exposure. That's why I would go half. But ultimately, nobody knows for sure.
100%, man. 100%. So I guess that's pretty much it for us, man. I don't know if you got anything else to add here. You got the whole Discord showing up right now. 10K sacrifice phase for Pulse Chain, initial investment value. We're gonna update the people on that, man. Once everything comes up, we're gonna show Brendan's gonna be a millionaire, and you guys and me as well. And hopefully at one point, we can just let people know and tell people back in the day you guys should have sacrificed, man.
Well, man, look, I hope so. So I am doing this 10K to 1 mil challenge. We'll see how it goes. If you want to follow my progress, join our Discord, join our VIP Discord. If you want to support us, links for everything's down in the description below. I don't know, man. Is there anything else? I pretty much got everything I want off my chest.
No, man, that's pretty much it. Thank you guys for watching. We appreciate you. Make sure you donate to our fund here. Brendan's always dehydrated. We're trying to raise some money just so he stops stuttering, stops, choking on his words. Look at him. It's actually pretty crazy over here, man. Thank you guys for watching. Appreciate it. Make sure you comment, like, share, subscribe. Do whatever you gotta do, man, to support us. Appreciate it.
Like, and subscribe.
Thank you guys for watching. Peace out.
Peace out, yeah.